How did you go on and validate the idea? Like you said, your post got traction. You actually found that people are liking your animation style or things that you're building. When did you decide to go full in on creating this library? If I was in your position, company such as Framer was backing me, I would have been pretty comfortable building a library that I like. Was the decision difficult to move out of Framer and do something of your own, which is also open source? Because there are other things attached to open source as well. If you've watched any of my videos, you already know how big of a fan I am of Motion. Motion for animations and micro interactions I've been using extensively. In this video, I sat with the founder of Motion.dev, who is Matt Perry, who has built the Motion library from the ground up solo. He open sourced it, and we talked about how he built a business around Motion. With an initial collaboration with Framer, he moved out and he built a library on his own, and now Motion is used and loved by millions and millions of people around the world. In this video, we pick on the brains of Matt and how he actually operates, what are the design decisions that he takes, and also what are the factors affecting the growth of Motion. So do watch this video till the end to know all the answers to these questions. I'll see you in the video. All right, thank you so much for joining, Matt. I'll say this first, I've been a huge fan of Motion. I've been using it for around 4 to 5 years now. It was Framer Motion previously. Now it's Motion, and I've been a Motion Plus user as well. I love your craft. I love your work. Thank you so much for joining. And do you mind telling something about yourself and the work that you do?
Thanks very much for the introduction, by the way. That was very kind. I've been making animation libraries for 10 years now, I think, and sort of started with Pop Motion and then later Framer Motion, and now I do it independently, just Motion. And that's it really. Like I suppose this year, like last year, I've been really trying to build it into a self-sustaining business, whereas this year is like more about, I don't know, doing things that are a bit more enjoyable for me, like not necessarily chasing, what's gonna keep the business sustainable, but actually, what do I want to do with this year?
Awesome. And I've been using Motion quite a lot. I mean, I started learning to code back in 2014, and I've been using Tailwind and I'm using Motion. Motion primarily because of animations, right? So you said you've been working for over 10 years on Motion. How did you come up with this idea of an animation library wherein there is an intuitive API to work with, simple to use, simple props that you pass into Motion devs? How did the idea came into existence? I mean, what was the thought process? Was it a side project or you had a vision in mind? What were your thoughts?
It sort of happened organically over time, I think, because to begin with, like I really was, well, first I was crap at API design, so everything I made was like kind of impenetrable, and maybe like as I iterated quite a lot in the early days, and as I learned different things, I'd try different things out. Like I had a diversion down functional programming and stuff, and I feel like at some point I realized like everything I did that got traction was like the simple things. So there was a React integration called Pose that I made, and that actually really took off in a way that Pop Motion never did, and it just really made me realize that people like the best way to do this is to like introduce as few new concepts as possible. People just want to do things, and the simplest way to do them is the right way, is essentially the right way. So ever since then, like my North Star, I guess, for any API design has been like, how simple can I make this?
Right.
Because that's going to be the successful thing. Like it, but also in a way, like there's always an escape hatch, or there's always like, for that 5% of like 95% should be covered by like the easy way, and then the final 5% should have a way to do it. Might not be as nice, but it should be also nice, but just maybe like you could introduce those kind of, what I've got in mind right now when I'm saying this is motion values in Motion. Most people don't need to know what they are, but once you know what they are, like you can consider yourself like, if you have a need for a motion value, you're probably doing something pretty interesting.
Awesome. And how did you go on and validate the idea? Like you said, your post got traction and you actually found that people are, liking your animation style or things that you're building. How did you validate it at scale? Like, when did you decide to go full in on creating this library?
Um, well, I didn't really like it. It was almost oh, well, I suppose I did. I suppose I'm just having flashbacks of there was a day when my wife came home at 5 p.m. and I was still in my dressing gown because like I think I was like working on pop motion. I'd left my last job and I was
Hmm.
working on pop motion full time, but I'd only managed to get 300 quid a month in sponsorships.
Hmm.
And so when Framer came along saying, "Oh, we'll pay you to do this as your full-time job," I was like, "Pff, okay, well that's an obvious thing to do because I'm
Right.
not making any money this way." So I think I decided to go independent in the first place because I was just it was the same pattern. Like I'd go to a job, wouldn't really. I'd find it interesting for like maybe a few months, and then I get bored of doing the same things. Found myself like bringing a lot of like animation design into work, almost as a pretense to like spend time developing pop motion and making that better. Um, and so at one point, I just thought I'll just try and do this like independently. Um, and then I spent 7 years doing it at Framer, which is obviously like a salaried position. Um, and yeah, at some point, I mean, it took 7 years of Framer, so that's a pretty good run, I'd say. But at some
Right.
point, I was like, I'm not really doing like even my vision for motion like is curtailed because I work within this company. And that's not because Framer doesn't have any ambition. It's more like I'm thinking like, oh, what's best for this library in the framework of how it services the company best. So then you
Right.
find yourself like bargaining, like, oh, well, I find this thing interesting and they'd find that useful. So maybe this is the thing that overlaps, like the Venn diagram there overlaps.
Right.
And then one year there was just particularly like there were few overlaps left, and I just thought, oh, that's a shame. And it, I don't know, we sort of also had like maybe different ideas of what was good for motion and for Framer in terms of
Right.
animation. And I feel vindicated because like now that when I do these things like carousel ticker, um, which we also did in Framer, but once they were done, it was almost like they were good enough. Where I'm like, they could be even better. We could do it with like testing library, but there's no time, there's no
Right.
appetite. Oh, no one's going to give me a pat on the back for doing these things. Do you know what I mean? Whereas when I then now have them as a separate product that I can sell to other people, it becomes like more, like I develop it in their own right. They're useful, and now because well, I still work with Framer and stuff. They use Ticker in Framer now as the replacement for the one we originally made, like back in the day. It'll be the same carousel. So I
Got
actually
it.
think it's like working best for everyone, basically.
Yes. But quick candid question here. Since you were working with Framer for around 7 years, right? Um, if I was in your position and a company such as Framer was backing me, I would have been pretty comfortable building a library that I like and also getting paid for that. I mean, obviously they'll be playing good as well. But was the decision difficult to move out of Framer and do something of your own, which is also open source? Because there are other things attached to open source as well. You get sponsorships, you can have separate paid products. But then again, it might work, it might not. So, was the
Mm.
decision difficult of moving out of Framer?
No, I felt relatively comfortable. I don't think I thought it was going to be like it's been pretty successful. I didn't think I thought it'd been that successful, but I felt like I'd probably make it work. Even if Framer went away and didn't sponsor me anymore, I feel like I could make it work. But yeah, it was tough, but it was more tough on like a personal level. People, I really like going to the office and I really like working with the people there. So it was more, I guess it was more like that. And it's also nice, like Frame is super successful now as well, which is almost like it's a nice environment to be in. Like I don't think I'd ever worked on a successful product up until then. And so there's that side of things. But you can't really, it's not enough basically. So I could have been comfortable and just sort of spun the wheels. And it was hard on a personal level, but at some point you just like if I look at motion now and what it has become is, sort of more than I imagined it was going to be a year ago when I left, or a bit more than that now. But it's like a much fuller thing. Like even if you put motion plus aside, like the fact that you've got like the examples section, the tutorial section, all the documentation's been rewritten.
Right.
There's a view integration. And none of these things, all the Motion Studio and the AI tools and stuff, like none of that would exist now if I hadn't left. It just wouldn't,
Right.
because partly because the push wouldn't come from the company. There's no desire for a lot of those things. They don't need examples from Motion. Like it's almost like a competitor to the core product, if you know what I mean. But then, you know, yeah. So there wouldn't be that. But then, likewise, if I could just, I had quite a lot of freedom for various pop, not always, but like for quite a lot of time. Um, but if I did it, it was almost like it'd be better staying quiet and doing nothing than coming out with the new examples section or here's this, here's that.
Right.
Because it'd be like, why are you spending all that time doing something that's not part of the core product? Which
Awesome.
is,
Awesome.
fair enough. That's the other thing. You just got fairly, I would say, mutually opposed, or it's like, at some point everything was it worked together. So like, no, is that the right word? Mutually beneficial. And then at some point it's like, well, actually the things that are best for me aren't the best for you, and vice versa, and that's okay as well. You just got to recognize it and make a change, which they were actually really helpful with. It became like the biggest sponsor last year at least. So
Yes, yes, so that makes a lot of sense. Also, is Framer Motion as a package being maintained? Because I hate it when LLMs just pick it up from Framer Motion, not Motion React. It pains me to the core. I have to specifically write a motion.md file just to make sure that we import from the right package. Is it still maintained? I'm not sure about that.
yeah. Well, so the way the repo works, like just to get a bit technical, I guess, but like you got the Motion DOM package, which is all like the exclusive, like DOM exclusive things, and you've got Frame of Motion, which takes these things and uses it to make the React version. And then on top of that, you've got Motion, which is the one, and now that re-exports things from both packages. And if you're a React user, you use like Motion/React, and if you're not, then you
Right.
just use Motion. Um, so it's a core part of all the React stuff still lives in the frame of motion, and so that's why it works if you just like import from frame of motion still. Um, yeah, so it's fine. It's not going anywhere. It's all the same stuff.
All right, makes a lot of sense. Since you talked about repos, I had one question around Motion. So, since you made it open source, what are the different monetization strategies that you thought of initially, or you're going to implement them? But why open source in the first place?
Okay, by the first place, do you mean like when I went independent,
Yes. Why
or
did you take the decision of making it open source and not just make it a closed source library and then go ahead and sell Motion Plus? Like
Hmm.
how GSAP did it initially, if you want, they had different licensing terms. Why
Yeah,
didn't you go with that phase? I hate
because
it, but
I was contractually obliged, like
all
as
right.
part of the leaving Framer. But no,
Okay.
I mean that is true. But it is also the case that I wouldn't have done it anyway because I just feel like a rug pull wouldn't have gone well. I think
Hmm.
it's a rug pull. So everything new that's being made either is paid or it goes through early access.
Hmm.
Like I'm just about to release vanilla layout animations.
Okay.
Um, and I'm gonna put that in a year early access. And then I'm thinking of like I probably won't do, I don't know if I'll do this, but if you can buy Motion Plus and get access to that now. Or I'm wondering if like because this is
But
yeah.
since there are also a lot of community contributions, right? So how do the goal align from the community contribution? Like how do you guide people to actually contribute to Motion?
Yeah, there's actually not that many contributions to the community. There's some, but really not many. It's not like it's run as a bit of a fiefdom. Like it's my
Hmm.
thing. Like
Right.
and I don't know if I'm just really bad at fostering community or something, but it really feels like yeah, people maybe I just don't advertise enough, and or maybe because it's always been just me. They're not like a team of open source contributors that people don't feel like they can contribute, but of course they can. Um, but it's you know, if it was like a new feature to an existing API, that probably just get released because it's not really easy to gate that. But everything else is it goes through early access. But that's what I was going to say. The one thing that I've been thinking about is if you could do like a, because this is such a, especially with LLMs and stuff, like basically stealing the content of your website and
Yes.
reselling it to users. That's essentially what they're doing. They're selling the, you know, it's obviously the code's open source and the websites are free to go to, but what they are doing is taking all of that and reselling the knowledge to people, which is, I don't really have a strong opinion on it, to be honest, but they're not really, they're also, by not supporting the open source makers, they're
Hmm.
essentially creating an environment where they're eating themselves. So no one goes to the website, no one sees Motion Plus, no one buys Motion Plus. I don't have a business. I'll close the thing down. Like it's you know it's that
Exactly.
that's just what's gonna that's what's gonna happen. Um, so what I'm thinking of, like perhaps like an early access where you buy Motion Plus, you get access to something, or like a crowd unlock, which would almost be like a Kickstarter style thing where you can go on, and if you're a business, you could say, well, this thing's in early access for a year. But if a business pays 20K or whatever it is, then they get their logo on this page basically forever. And you bring the date forward for 4 months or something.
Got it.
Or you're an individual club, you're an individual and you pay a tenner, you can bring it back forward by a day or something like that. And likewise have your like avatar. This is just a thought. Like I don't know if I'll spend the investor time doing it, but like it really is for the situation is forcing people to think about novel ways in which to monetize open source to keep it viable.
Makes a lot of sense. You talked about Motion Plus. Even we have our products, and we are facing the same issue. I think Adam talked about the same problem in one of his walks recordings, which I heard. Very, very true. You talked about layout animations, and I'm a huge, huge fan of layout animations. I thank you for that specifically because it's so good. Now, there is layout animations, there are spring animations. How do you lay out what's going to be next on motion? Like, what is your thought process on to creating something which may be beneficial to a mass or a group of people? What is your thought process into laying out the next set of features for motion? What is it? What I want to tap into the thought process.
Yeah, so I plan a lot, but like realistically, I'll be struck. Often, how it works is I'll be struck by like, oh, it'd be cool to do this thing, and then I'll just do it. Nothing's as big as like layout animations took like months and months of work, so that's not just something you just do.
Right.
And the problem now that I've got is that without the thinking behind that was like Framer needed and if flip animations, layout animations, something I really wanted to tackle. But Framer wanted to do it so that you could have two different artboards with the same, with slightly bit different layout in each, and you could animate between the two, even when the DOM changes, which is where the shared layout animations come from. And it also means because I was like, I'm not going to do this unless it's completely transforms. It needed to do like it took a lot of work to understand from from me. I'm sure smarter people would know this just anyway, but like if you scale like an element down, the coordination system of all the elements in it is now scaled down as well. So you have to
Right.
like account for that when you're trying to like project a child element to match the size of another element. It needs to know that it's within this scaled space and when it moves, like if you want it to be moving 100 pixels per second, for instance, if it's in a scale space like it is half, then it's only going to be moving by 50 pixels a second if you want. So to make consistent animations, essentially, you need to account for all these deformations. Um, and no one's ever done that, at least
Hmm.
this space.
True.
And I don't think that people. So what my normal thought process would have been is we'll do flip the same way that like Green Sock or whatever we'll do it the way they do it, which is because that's sane and easy. And once you've done it, then it's kind of you've solved a big chunk of people's problems. Not the 95%. I think this is like we're talking maybe like 50% of the use cases, perhaps with that. Um, but because of what they wanted, like they wanted full trees, infinitely deep trees, to be able to animate between each other. That really pressed me to have to like spend the time, and I was given the time as well. Um, but my natural inclination would have been, well, that's good enough. The flip because they don't know if no one's asking you for something that's going to take you, 4 extra months of time, then what are you going to be doing? Breaking out your I can't even remember. I was like having to look into like matrix transformations and stuff, and I don't know any. I'm not a mathematician. Um, and so you'd take good enough basically a lot of the time when if the cost of the next step is so high that it's prohibitive. So now I'm like, where do I find my next framer in that sense? Do you know what I mean? Like, where do I find a
Hmm.
user that's so demanding? Because layout animation is used everywhere in Framer. But if one person came to me and said, "Oh, I needed to do this," you'd be like, "Well, you're just one person. Like, is that really the best use of my time?"
Yeah.
Um, and so I am finding it difficult to get signal for big projects. That's what I'd say.
Makes a lot of sense. True. That's very true. Because I get a lot of feature requests as well. I'm not sure I have to build all of them. That was something very personal to me because people ask for everything and anything. So I have to really prioritize on what to work on, what would be the best use of my time. So that's true. Awesome. Like you said, layout animations and other favorite thing of mine for motion is animation sequences. Best place for me to learn motion is through motion docs. I tell
Mhm.
this to everyone I meet. You don't need a video course for this. You don't need to watch my videos or someone else's videos. If you go to docs of motion, it's pretty straightforward, easy to use, and easy to understand. What are your thoughts on someone who's new to motion or who's new to animations? How do you want them to take motion, or how do you want them to actually learn the basics or the principles of motion?
Yeah, I mean, I don't care. Whatever works for them, do you know what I mean? And so, because it's funny that you say about the docs, because actually some of the feedback that I get is that the docs, and people love your videos as well, so they're always being recommended. Like if I look through my tweet deck, and I see it pop up quite a lot that someone's recommended your course, sorry, your video series. Um, so if videos work for people, then obviously, that's amazing. But with the docs, like I have heard that it's because what I wanted to do is write a docs that's very like terse, not terse, but like it doesn't. There's no fluff around each concept. But I think the problem with the docs is perhaps like because of that, it's like here's this, here's what it does. Next thing, here's this, here's what it does. Next thing, and I think some people struggle perhaps with the whys. Why would I use this instead of this? Which is perfectly valid. And I think for that, video courses can be better or good, or finding tutorials likewise. So now there's also like the tutorial section in the site where I've basically gone through all of the examples, well, not all of them, but like a lot of them, and I've written a tutorial about like how you can do X, Y, Z. And then when I introduce a concept, depending on the difficulty level, like if this is a really complex example, then I will brush over a lot of things. If this is an easy example, then I take the time to explain, like, well, you do it like this because of X, for these reasons, basically. Um, and I think that is so maybe for some people, like practical hands-on examples is an easier way to learn. But yeah, I haven't found I mean, this year I would like to improve the docs so that maybe concepts get their own page, something like that. Because yeah, I don't know. At the moment, it's like we've got the whole, the animate function, for instance, has like everything about the animate function on it. But maybe variants or like sequencing, likewise, maybe these things need like their own little section or something.
Makes a lot of sense. And when it comes to learning, I also learn from you. And the best way for me to do is do that part is to, I mean, I bought your Motion Plus when it came out. The day it came out, I bought it. I found
Thanks.
code snippets there. I think that is the best way for me to learn because you build something, you actually build the library, you know how to animate things, and you're also writing code and tutorials now over there. So it is the best way for me to learn motion as well and how complex animations can be taken care of. Do you have something to say about Motion Plus and how it can help people? Because a lot of people would be watching this video and they'll be interested in Motion Plus and other such libraries. So what do you want to say about that?
Yeah, it's tough. Like, so I think it can help in two ways, and that's like learning and doing, basically. And I'm just interested really as to how much people really like one or the other. So like do people really want to learn anything? Like I don't know, like maybe because they learn something because they want to do it. So doing's always part of it, and the learning's like I think some people are interested, but so yeah, obviously the examples all have the source code, and about a third of them have an attached tutorial as well, which go way more into the like the hows and whys and really. So if you're not someone who can just take the source code and just read and go, oh, he did this, then there's a tutorial that sort of guides you through the code a bit more. But then also there's the MCP, which is like the AI add-on. And what that does is like it will load all the examples, source code, and all the documentation into your LLM. And when it doesn't know something, or you say like it's instructed so that like if you say, "Oh, build me a carousel or something," it will go, "Oh, well, here's the docs of the carousel. Here's some examples." Like it will query this database of like 330 examples, and it will learn how to do it with the most up to date, so that you never get that like import from frame of motion again, like because
Right.
this is instructing it not to do that. And any new APIs, obviously this is instantly updated with those, rather than waiting a year until the LLMs find it in their training data. So I'd say it's like good for learning, but I'm just thinking more and more about how, you can see with the usage of frame of motion, it's going way up still, almost like still in the habit. Motion, it's still
Yes.
going up, like more than ever, but the visitors to the site is flat, which is that's AI. That's there's no other force that could output that kind of pattern. So these AI companies are recommending motion almost more and more. People are using it more and more. They might not even written a line of code, so they might not even know that they're using it. So they're never going to come to the documentation. So I'm trying to find ways of like getting people more, even people that are using it for AI. First of all, like how can I improve the AI experience? And second, like how do I get to those people in terms of like awareness? Like, oh, you can use, oh, you're trying to make a carousel. Well, Motion Plus has like an amazing carousel that you can blah blah blah. And it's how do I get the LLMs to say that for me? Because it's true. Like it's not like I'm not trying to spike it with anything that's incorrect, but like I'm just thinking through like this is a new problem basically, and it's a new situation that everyone's found themselves in where the website isn't the main point of contact with your users anymore.
Makes a lot of sense. And I've got a lot of value out of Motion Plus since it is a lifetime deal that I got. I really feel I get a lot out of lifetime deals. So if anyone's watching this video, I do recommend get Motion Plus. It has helped me a lot in learning because many of the people who are watching this video are more interested in also learning how Motion APIs work underneath the hood, and they'll be willing to learn it so that they can implement further, get better at it, and eventually provide value. So anyone who's watching, use Motion Plus. That was it.
Co-signed.
That was it, Matt, from my side. Do you have anything to add? I really loved talking to you. I've been a fan of your work. I've been closely monitoring Motion for a long time now, and I've been using Motion on a lot of my products as well. Do you have anything to say about Motion or anything?
No, I just I appreciate what you do personally. Thanks for the videos. Really, there's not many people making good quality content about motion at the moment, and I'd like to change that as well. But for now, like you're both basically the only person doing like good stuff. So as far as I've seen, I'm sure someone's watching this and being like, "Well, I make good stuff." I know I ain't seen it. That's all I'm saying. Yeah, so no, nothing else from me. I couldn't have solved Motion Plus better than you did. It's been a pleasure to talking to you. And yeah, I'm going to be releasing vanilla layout animations into early access as well. So Motion Plus gets you access to that as well. But I'm going to be doing that. I hope today.
Awesome. Then that's it. Thank you so much, Matt, for your time. I appreciate you coming over here and spending time with us. And I'll see you in the next one, maybe.
Yeah, no, definitely. I'll be back.
All right.
All right. Thanks for having me.
Thanks.